Italian Football Podcast.
But no more big are they than Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So I want to commemorate Zlatan's career because this was his retirement, Nima, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. He retired from football without telling anyone else. Not even his family knew, and he decided it on his own. And he walks out there and says that this is my goodbye to football, which made it all very, very Zlatan way to end things. To basically, do it on his terms, like he's done his entire career. He just never really cared what anyone thought or thinks about anything. He just does it his way. And so we saw him come out there, and no one knew what to expect, and you saw what it meant to people. I think Zlatan it was fitting that he ended his career at Milan, where he is truly loved. He's respected at Barcelona. He's respected at Juve. He's respected at Inter, United, LA Galaxy, PSG. But he's not loved like that. He is loved at Milan, and you saw that. And so I think it's incredibly fitting, to see Sandro Tonali crying, to see everyone at that stadium with tears in their eyes, and him as well. That was genuine. That's where he was most loved. That's where he felt the most at home. He even said so when he returned from Barcelona back to Italy. He said, Milan gave me the smile on my face back. He really, really enjoyed life there. And even when he left Milan and, when he came back to Milan, more than anything, like he said, when I returned, you gave me love. Because when he came back, that pretty much spring the beginning of the end of Milan's banter era. It was from that point on that Milan raised l'asticella, as they say in Italy. They raised everything. Every player he was the catalyst to raise Milan out of their decade-long slumber and banter era, quote unquote. And the results speak for themselves. 7th, 2nd, 1st, 4th. Those are the results ever since Milan came back. And for that, he is loved, and he will be loved forever at Milan. And I think that he will now be he will go down as a Milan legend. He will go down as one of the most important people and players in Milan's history. Not maybe perhaps for the important trophies that they won, but for the importance in bringing Milan back to where Milan needs to be. And I think we'll see him now in some role for Milan, because I can't think of a better ambassador for Milan than Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Yeah, and what an amazing goodbye as well. I mean,
Italy
the choreography, the banner. I mean, that was just beautiful, genius. I mean, goodbye. I mean, the play on words. That is. I mean, it was simple, but so powerful.
Look, Serie A is the best. Not Serie A. Italian football is the best at praising their heroes. No one does it. In Italy, they never forget who their heroes are, and they always praise. They praise them in a way that no one else comes close in football, in my opinion. Just go. I mean, I was there when Zanetti had his retirement. I was there when I was there when Zanetti was his goodbye, and that entire night and atmosphere around that was just unreal. Francesco Totti, those immortal words, that immortal sending off, that is just unbelievable. De Rossi's goodbye. It's just Italians. No one does it like Italians when it comes to goodbyes and praising their heroes. And I think that's one of the aspects of Italian football that I truly love the most, and I think is unique.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, Zlatan's career as a whole, just away from Milan, is legendary. Over 500 career club goals. Only 13 players in history of football have scored more goals than Zlatan, which says it all. And I had a little look through that list earlier today, and he would be top 10. There's a few there's a few players from Northern Ireland who scored all their goals in the Northern Irish League that are in that list. So that tells you kind of where Zlatan is in the pantheon of attacking greats certainly in terms of longevity, which is incredible. I mean, this is someone who made his debut. He made his debut in 1999. He's been playing for 4 different decades. 4 different decades. I mean, that's insane.
That's the thing I wanted to that I think is the most impressive. He scored in 4 different decades. And that's the thing that Zlatan is not in the same category as Maradona, Pelé, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo, Zinedine Zidane, and so on. He's not in that category, and I think he would admit to that himself, because he never reached those heights in terms of height at the level. But what he did do, which no other outfield player has done at that level, at this high level, is the longevity. At 40 years of age,
for an attacker, definitely. I mean, for an attacker. I mean, we've had a few defenders. A few defenders that have done it, like Maldini, for example. But for an attacker, I don't think there's nobody that's had the longevity as an attacker at the highest level as he had. I mean, you've got to remember, this is somebody who, at the age of 40, to think at 40, he was still playing a pivotal role in Milan and the Scudetto.
Which,
the first half of last season, he was pivotal, and then obviously got more off the pitch in the second half of the season. But I think, that's incredible. And I mean, after Messi and Ronaldo, I think he has been the most consistent player in terms of longevity of his generation. I think of that generation. The last, say, 15 years.
I think of that generation, he is a distant, but he is a clear third behind them. And
I mean, his league winning record is unbelievable. I mean, he actually had a streak of 1 point of winning 12 league titles in a row, which was, it's just insane. I mean, his one disappointment, we have spoken about this on the show today, his one disappointment was the Champions League. He never quite did it in the Champions League knockout stages. And internationally, obviously, he wasn't playing for the strongest nation, so you can't really hold that against him. But
his idol, Ronaldo, I mean, he joins his 2 idols, Maradona and Ronaldo, in never really succeeding in the European Cup Champions League. And of course, being from Sweden, he had 0 chance of doing anything in European competitions, or international competitions. But despite that, and also that Swedish team, where he had his greatest period when Sweden had some of the weakest Swedish sides I can remember. Sweden's biggest chance was in 2004 in the Euros, when Ljungberg, Henrik Larsson, and Ibrahimovic were all kind of their peak kind of somewhat coincided with one another. And he was injured in the World Cup 2006. So look, but at the same time, he was the first player to score 2 goals in 3 consecutive European championships. Obviously, Ronaldo bettered that. But no, look, his legacy is truly unique because of the player that he was. The player that, in Brazil, they combine capoeira with football. That kind of training, the martial arts. But he did it with taekwondo. Zlatan married taekwondo and football, which in a unique way. And he raised, if you look at the most...
Well, we saw that in many of his greatest moments. I mean, I've just noted down here what are his greatest moments of his career, and a lot of them are taekwondo-esque goals. I mean, the scorpion kick for Inter, that overhead kick for Sweden versus England, which I think is probably the goal of his career. That was just insane. I mean, overhead kick from not near the halfway line when he scored those 4 goals in 2012. The goal versus Italy in 2004 was acrobatically another kind of work of art, really, the way that he twisted his body. Those all back that up. But he's had so many great moments in his career. I mean, the solo goal he scored for Ajax against NAC Breda was insane.
Winning the Capocannoniere with a back heel. I mean, if Francesco Totti is always, for me, linked with Cucchiaio, the lob. That's Totti. Equally, Zlatan is the back heel. I mean, some of the most amazing goals he scored with back-heeled goals, and not just one or two. The back heel that was his, superhero speciality. The same way that Francesco Totti with the lob, the pallonetto, the cucchiaio. It was, it's truly remarkable, and it feels a bit surreal, even though we all knew this day was coming. But I've spoken to people who in Sweden who all support all sorts of teams, and they're like, it's a little bit of disbelief that he's been around for so long that it feels surreal that he no longer plays football anymore. He leaves a legacy and a void that is truly remarkable and unique. The character he was.
Unique, definitely. I mean, his skill set was unique. I mean, someone that big, 6'5", but to have the technical quality of someone that half his size. I mean, that is amazing, and his personality for sure. I mean, he is one of the biggest personalities we have ever seen in the game. I mean, you don't get characters like that anymore in modern football. They're all media trained. They're all robots.
You saw that yesterday as well when Hellas Verona started booing, and he immediately, in the middle of his speech, said, "Come on, go on, boo, boo. This is the greatest night of your year, seeing me."
Yeah, but I mean, totally unique. I mean, you just don't get those personalities now. They're all just media trained and scripted, and actually quite sanitized, and actually quite boring. Just boring. The modern footballer is generally quite boring, and
there is and just from in the Swedish context, there truly is a Sweden as a country before and after Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I don't think you can. It's so difficult to explain in words. I know that he's not very happy about it because he didn't choose to be the symbol of a lot of things that people projected onto him. It just so happened that the stars aligned, that the world's most famous Swede and the world's most popular sport became a immigrant from a working class poor area in Rosengård, which prompted a lot of establishment Swedes having to come to terms with what Sweden is and what Sweden as a country was and is. And he challenged that just by existing and just by being unapologetic about who he was and where he came from. He's never changed who he is. He's still the same. He's still that guy. He's never adapted to try to be anything. He's as he says himself, I'm still the ghetto kid. Like the attitude he has and how he talks. He's still that kid. He's not tried to be anything else than he isn't. And that's forced a lot of people in this country to have to come to terms with what is Sweden and what is Swedishness, which is unique. I can't think of very many other examples in footballing history where one person has an entire country had to come to terms with who they are just by existing. Even though in a very political context, even though he never tried to be political during his career. Towards the end, he finally started speaking about it when protecting Dejan Kulusevski above all in the Swedish national team. But that is unique as well. I can't think of very many other countries where a player has, just by existing, because of his background, polarized the country the way that he did. And it's truly remarkable to see all of that play out and the door that he kicked open. He didn't open them. He kicked open doors for players like Kulusevski, for Alexander Isak, for all these other players with non-Swedish names, traditionally ethnic Swedish names and backgrounds. That is something that the gratitude and debt that is owed to him is unbelievable. It's just, you can't measure it in words.
For sure.